Welcome back, guys. Angel of the Night 091 here, and you guys know what time it is. It is time for Global Challenge Series 3 Battle. So we are going to see our opponent lead off here with a Dragonite and a Dondozo, and of course we are going to come in with our Fluttermane and our Arcanine. Definitely two Pokemon that we would like to have out onto the field. One, the Arcanine to drop the attack stat of our opponents, and of course the Fluttermane to be able to deal some damage. Now, the Arcanine does have the Wild Charge, so that definitely could potentially be helpful against the Dondozo, but as you guys know, with every Dondozo, there is usually a Tatsugiri that is going to come out, and that's exactly what's going to happen here. Dragonite is ending up going to swap out to Tatsugiri, and of course the Commander ability is going to take off with the Dondozo. Now, Tatsugiri, of course, with the Commander, basically controls the Dondozo and basically boosts up some stats. There are so many ways to try to take down the Dondozo pair, and one of the ways that I have is actually either by using my Amoongus with Clear Smog, or my Tauros with the Tera typing of Ghost, and using the Curse attack. As you guys know, with Curse on a Ghost-type Pokemon, it will whittle away some health of our opponent each turn. Now, the stats have been boosted up onto the Dondozo. We get the Thunderbolt off onto it, and it's going to be able to retaliate with a Wave Crash. Now, Wave Crash, super effective onto Arcanine. Probably would have been more beneficial for me to maybe not have him in there, but I honestly thought I was going to be able to do some damage off onto the Dondozo before the Commander scenario actually occurred. Citrus Berry, of course, regaining back the health there to the Dondozo, and now we have the opportune moment to bring in Amoongus. Now, with the Amoongus, of course, is a grass and poison type, so we know that any kind of water moves onto it is not going to be very effective, but we are going to go in for the Clear Smog and yet again another Thunderbolt. However, the Dondozo has a different plan. It is going to go in for the Tera typing of Grass. And what that's going to do is that's actually going to cause some conflict for us with our Thunderbolting Fluttermane. Not going to be very effective whatsoever, and only going to do a little bit of chip damage. So here we are basically at the mercy of the Dondozo until we can get this Clear Smog off. In comes the Earthquake. It looks like there's a void for the Tatsugiri, of course, because it is inside the Dondozo. We both survive with a good, decent amount of HP. We get the Clear Smog off. That is going to actually drop the stats of the Dondozo, and we are going to go right in for the attack onto that mighty water Pokemon. In comes the Moonblast, going to be able to finish off the Dondozo, and what do you know, the Tatsugiri comes back out onto the field. So, Sludge Bomb, of course, going to be able to make a hit onto the Tatsugiri and is going to end up poisoning that Pokemon. And as you guys know, it is a Dragon-type Pokemon, so we are going to be able to do some Dazzling Gleam Moonblasting to basically help us out here. So, the next Pokemon coming in is going to be Dragonite. Of course, Dragonite is one of the most majestic Dragon-type Pokemon that are out there. However, it's a little bit more majestic in the Dragonair phase, I do say so myself. But we are going to go in for some attacks here. We are going to go in for the Tera Fairy on our Fluttermane. And the reason why we are doing this is we want to have a boost in our attack on those Dragon types with our Fairy moves. So, we are going to get the attack off here. Here's the Helping Hand, of course, coming from the Tatsugiri into the Dragonite. Dragonite is going to get a little bit of a boost there. We get the Rage Powder off with the Amoongus becoming the center of attention. And in comes the Aqua Jet into the Amoongus? Question mark? Why are you Aqua Jetting Amoongus out of all Pokemon? But you know what? I forgot that I actually did the Rage Powder. That was probably meant for the Fluttermane. But we end up taking out the Tatsugiri nonetheless. And, that laugh was hilarious. So in comes the Iron Hands. Now both of these Pokemon, of course, are weak to the Fairy typing. So we are going to go ahead and get a Dazzling Gleam off to these two Pokemon. Fake Out coming in from the Iron Hands, of course, is going to be able to flinch the Amoongus, but also as well, it's going to activate my own Citrus Berry. We're not going to be able to move this turn. Aqua Jet, of course, coming into the Flutter Mane, and that is actually going to do what it was supposed to do last turn and take out my Flutter Mane. So, the last and final Pokemon that is onto the team here is going to be Tauros. And as you guys know, I love this Tauros set. I'm not going to keep going over it. But with the 200 in the defensive stat and 200 into the attack stat, if we can get off a couple of curses here, that will actually help us out. So that's exactly what I believe we are doing here. We're going to go for the curse, and then we are going to go for the Rage Powder to direct all moves into the Amoongus. That's going to allow us to not only get our defenses up, our attack stat up, but of course it is going to redirect all those moves to Amoongus, causing Tauros to not take a hit. And that is exactly what we want to have happen here. So the only downside to the curse is that it is going to drop the speed stat. And I don't know about you, but Dragonite is a more speedier Pokemon probably than what Tauros is going to be, but at least we'll be able to take some hits. So we're just going to keep doing this over and over here for a little bit. We want to kind of boost up as much as we can, because we know right off the bat that that Dragonite or that Iron Hands is going to be a bit more of a challenge. We go for the Wild Charge into the Dragonite. We're actually doing quite a bit of damage there. And the Iron Head, of course, into the Amoongus. Now, I know I said that we were going to do the curses over and over, and we do eventually do more curses. So that wasn't necessarily a lie, but we did manage to get an Iron Hands off there not an Iron Hands, Wild Charge off there pretty quick. We get the Rage Powder off here again, and all the moves are being directed back into the Amoongus. This is probably the last round that the Amoongus is going to be onto the field. We get the Wild Charge off onto the Dragonite, knocking him out, taking him down to one remaining Pokemon, which is that Iron Hands. Now, I don't really know exactly what the Iron Hands is going to be capable of here, if it's going to be able to knock us out or not. Amoongus barely holding on. We're down to about 4 hit points here. We are going to go again for another Rage Powder. Now, what I could have probably done is go for the Spore, put him to sleep, and then continue on that way with the Tauros, but I don't want to be that guy that just spores everything. I want to see if we can actually boost up some stuff, and I actually wanted to have a one-on-one with this Iron Hands. I wanted to have a little bit of fun. I wanted to see how much damage Iron Hands is going to be able to do to this Tauros, quite frankly. We are getting into the last remaining rounds of this battle here. Of course, we are going to go in for the attack this time. We're going to go in for the close combat off onto the Iron Hands, and as you can see, the Drain Punch is not doing anything at all. We get the close combat, almost knocking out the Iron Hands, and that's kind of a huge deal, guys. We do get a defense and a special defense drop here because of the close combat, but the fact that that close combat prior did that much damage, I'm pretty sure that there's not much this Iron Hands can do at this time. So in comes the attack, close combat doing its job, and that is going to be able to pick up the KO off on that Iron Hands. So hopefully you guys had a fantastic day today. Hope you enjoyed the battle, and I will catch you guys in the next match. Peace out.